Pam Bondi was recently sworn in front of President Trump and by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas as the new U.S. Attorney General. And after being sworn in, Pam Bondi is keeping her promise and she is not messing around. One of her first orders and directives is to go after the sanctuary cities and those woke attorney generals and prosecutors within those woke cities. Specifically, we'll start with New York, where we got woke prosecutor Alvin Bragg, and we got the New York Attorney General Letitia James, both who have gone out of their way to do all types of lawfare against President Trump over these last few years. Now, whilst New Yorkers are getting harassed, attacked, some even getting murdered and burnt up on subways, they've spent their time and resources putting propaganda out and using lawfare to attack their political enemies and the political enemies of the Biden administration. But Pam Bondi is on the scene, and you should see the initiatives that she's taken that is going to crack down on these sanctuary cities and make these woke DAs and prosecutors wish that they had never stopped out of bounds like they did. Check this out.
Let's talk about Pam Bondi. She has been sworn in as U.S. Attorney General, and she wasted no time getting to work.
That's right. She has ordered the Justice Department to pause its funding for sanctuary cities, which includes New York. Good day's Robert Moses joins us with the very latest. Robert, what does this mean for the city?
Well, Dan and Rosanna, the Attorney General, as you know, is the nation's top law enforcement officer, and Pam Bondi, who served as Florida's AG, has vowed to completely reshape the Justice Department. President Donald Trump looked on in the Oval Office yesterday as Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas administered the oath of office to Bondi, and she got right down to business, issuing 14 directives, among them ending Justice Department funding for state and local jurisdictions that, quote, unlawfully interfere with federal law enforcement operations. Translation, she's referring to sanctuary cities like New York that don't cooperate with ICE in deportation proceedings. For context, federal money accounts for about 8.3% of New York City's budget. So not clear how much of that comes from the Justice Department specifically. But what is clear is Bondi has said she plans to investigate those who investigated President Trump. To that end, she established what she is calling the Weaponization Working Group, which will scrutinize the work of Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who brought the first criminal case against the president, and New York Attorney General Letitia James, who filed a civil case against him, accusing him of inflating the value of his properties. The group, Bondi says, will also investigate one-time special counsel Jack Smith and what Bondi calls unethical prosecutions relating to events at or near the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021.
I know I'm supposed to say she's going to be totally impartial with respect to Democrats, and I think she will be as impartial as a person can be.
Thank you, President Trump. I've known you for many, many years, and I will not let you down.
In one of her memos released yesterday, Bondi attempted to assuage concerns that she is overseeing an all-out purge of the Justice Department. She wrote, quote, no one who has acted with a righteous spirit and just intentions has any cause for concern about efforts to root out corruption and weaponization. And in another action she took, Bondi restored the federal death penalty. Rosanna and Dan, back to you.
Now, you saw that. Now, real brief, let me show you a little bit of this article right here. It says Attorney General Pam Bondi orders review of Trump prosecutions focuses on sanctuary cities. In her first hours as Attorney General, Pam Bondi issued a broad slate of directives that included a Justice Department review of the prosecutions of President Trump, a reorientation of department work to focus on harsher punishments, actions punishing so-called sanctuary cities, and an end to diversity initiatives at the department. Bondi was confirmed by the Senate late Tuesday and was sworn in front of President Trump by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas in the Oval Office on Wednesday afternoon. The Attorney General established a weaponization working group to review Biden administration law enforcement policies. The initial focus of the working group will be the Trump cases in New York, the indictment pursued by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and civil enforcement action brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James, neither of which involve federal prosecutors. The group will also review the two federal cases against Mr. Trump pursued by former special counsel Jack Smith and will examine the prosecutions of rioters who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January the 6th, 2021. Okay, so let's get down here where she talks directly about sanctuary cities. All right, it says, the new group will review activities of all departments and agencies exercising civil or criminal enforcement authority in the United States to identify instances where a department's or agency's conduct appears to have been designed to achieve political objectives or other improper aims rather than pursuing justice or legitimate governmental objectives, Bondi wrote. She added that her department will provide quarterly reports to the White House on the group findings. Bondi also targeted sanctuary jurisdictions within order to end funding to any that unlawfully interfere with federal law enforcement operations. She encouraged the department to pursue enforcement actions against sanctuary cities or states that do not comply with federal government immigration efforts. State and local jurisdictions must comply with applicable immigration-related federal laws, one memo says, adding that state and local actors may not impede, obstruct, or otherwise fail to comply with lawful immigration-related detectives. So let's take a listen to what Ms. Bondi had to say in direct response to everything going on. Check this out.
I'm glad to hear that. Let me start with you've cracked down on sanctuary cities. The DOJ has put a pause on all federal funding of sanctuary cities and states. You filed a lawsuit against Chicago and the state of Illinois for being a sanctuary city. Am I wrong in my interpretation that a sanctuary city is aiding and abetting in lawbreaking?
Sean, what they're doing is they are choosing illegal aliens over the safety and security of their own citizens and the men and women of law enforcement who are out there trying to protect their citizens. Not only did we sue today the city of Chicago, we sued the state of Illinois, we sued the mayor, we sued the governor, and we sued others. And let me be very clear, if you don't comply with federal law, you're going to be next.
Now, you seen and you heard that. So what they're doing now, they're going to be going after the funding of these sanctuary cities, and rightfully so. They're using our tax dollars to violate and obstruct what it is that we, the people, want to see done. We want to see mass deportations of the criminal illegal immigrants. And there's a huge portion, a large portion, a majority that do not care if they're a criminal or not. They're already a criminal just by violating federal law by coming into this country illegally. As a matter of fact, in the comments, share whether you feel like they all should be deported regardless, or whether you agree with the fact that it should be just those hardened criminals and we work something out as far as on the millions of other people that are here. And if you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that like button. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscription. On this video, we share political and current events and sales tips and techniques. So if you're enjoying it, hit the like button. I'll never ask for a cash app, never ask for a super chat. You hitting that like button is a huge deal. But at the end of the day, it is imperative upon us to make sure that we support the AG, the new U.S. Attorney General, the big boss, Pam Bondi, and her efforts to weed out the bad actors that are out here in these state attorney general prosecutor roles. Think about Georgia with Fani Willis. Fani Willis, and she's got more than enough going on in her end. As you see, they're not even bringing her name up. Why? Because Georgia's not a sanctuary state. But at the end of the day, I'm sure they're going to make their way down to her. But you got Alvin Bragg, who came after the president on this whack, horrible bookkeeping issue that they took a misdemeanor and busted it up and elevated it. And did you know Trump was prosecuted on something that no one had ever in the history of the United States been prosecuted over? They took a misdemeanor that had expired based under the statute of limitations, made some adjustments, turned it into a felony, used it, and then took the same thing, which is just saying legal fees in a book. That's it. And for every check that he wrote his lawyer, that was a new count. So we heard him say the 34 counts. That's not 34 different things. That is the one ledger issue where they wrote legal fees when it was legal fees paying an attorney. But they said, well, he should have used his personal money. And, he shouldn't have used his personal money. He was damned if he did or damned if he didn't. If he used personal money, they would have had a problem. If he used campaign money, they would have said he was violating campaign laws. So regardless, they were making something out of nothing. And then you have the corrupt Michael Cohen, who literally went to prison for perjuring himself, lying to Congress. He lied, went to prison for perjury, gets out, becomes the poster boy for MSNBC. They tout him around, have had him as a regular on the show. He's going to leave the country and all it is, and he's on a hit list because he and Stormy Daniels both know what they did. Stormy Daniels wrote 2 letters saying that it never happened. But then all of a sudden in 2023, she has this new epiphany, and all of a sudden she remembers all these details. And what most people don't know, did you know that Stormy Daniels lost a defamation lawsuit to President Trump and owes him $500,000? She owed it to him before the court case. You think that's motivation enough for somebody to get up on the stand and lie? And their worst nightmare came true. Trump won, and he's back in that seat. And let me ask you, how would you feel? And put it in the comments. How would you feel if people that tried to take your life, tried to smear your name, tried to put you in prison for life, went after your family, did everything they could to tear you down, and you rose out of it and actually achieved your goal and are in a position not where you can get revenge, but where you could actually reveal, expose, and level the playing field? Would you do it? Or would you let bygones be bygones? And remember, in Trump's first term, he could have went after Hillary. He could have went after a lot of people, but you know what? He didn't, because he said it would not be good for the country. He could have went after him. You think he's going to take that same step this time, knowing that there is no chance of him getting back in the White House after this? And these folks are lunatics. They won't stop. What would you do? Leave it in the comments. But other than that, I just wanted to jump in and let you all know we are in good hands, because Merrick Garland, one of the most corrupt attorney generals ever, who was Biden's attack dog, he's tucked and running scared somewhere. And you know what? He had a vendetta against President Trump. And you may know this already. But prior to becoming the attorney general, Merrick Garland, his dream was to become a Supreme Court judge. And he was up for it. And you know what? Trump thwarted him away, slapped him back. And he was pissed. So when he became attorney general, he had a full vendetta against the president. And he used it, raided the man's home, had agents going through his wife's underwear drawer, taking files and spreading them out on the floor, taking pictures of him, acting like that was true. It was a horrible mess. But Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, hopefully is going to right those wrongs. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Stay on the lookout. I'm going to be coming with more updates as this whole situation unfolds. But the one thing I'm sure we can guarantee is going to be fireworks. So, and I'm here for it, and I know you are too. Other than that, hey, I appreciate you for watching. That's my dog playing with his squeezy toy. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out. Say hi, Thor. Dog's name is Thor. All right, y'all.